was just laying in bed for like a solid 3 hours doing nothing other than watching the Scream movies. And I realized, like, I want to do something. It's so windy out right now. I don't know if you can hear that, but, like, straight up, it's so windy. Hang on. Okay, I'm hoping that you can hear me because it is really windy outside and my phone is resting up against the window because it's the only place I'll get good lighting in here. But basically Vivian talking about her haunted house made me think like, oh, I have a couple like spooky stories because I used to live in a house that was like for sure haunted. So, you know, it's spooky Halloween, why not like tell them now? There's a pumpkin in the gutter. I don't believe that that was there a couple minutes ago, so that's kind of wacky. I really want to investigate this pumpkin, so I might just do that really quick before the story. Oh, what the heck? And everything just turned orange. Damn. It's not Yukon. I really needed to get outside, and this is my excuse. Okay. That's my room right up there with the lights on it. I was thinking of just taking it, but I was gonna get my roommate's opinion.
I give you permission.
Thank you. Oh wait, I left the door open. That was so strange, but now I have a pumpkin, and it was condoned by an old custodian that just before I started taking that video was very jaded about the administration here. He's gone now, I don't see him anymore, so maybe he was a ghost. I don't know, but I got a pumpkin. Okay, so like this video got thrown way off track. I probably would have been done with it by now if I hadn't run down to get that pumpkin. Because I was planning on taking a shower at 5:30 and it's 5:26, but what are you gonna do? I guess I'll just take it at 6. But yeah, I said I was gonna tell spooky stories, so that's what I'm gonna do. Alright, so I already did one take of this, but I scrapped it because it was kind of taking a long time and I was over explaining. So I'm gonna try to keep this a little bit like contained a little bit more, so we'll see how it goes. But most of these take place at my grandmother's house in Milford, which if you guys came to my graduation party, that's where it was. And so like it's a really like nice raised ranch and it's pretty old, but I don't think there was, like our family built this house so like less than 100 years ago, so I don't think there's any like people that could be living there, like ghosts I guess, but I don't even know, like I don't think that there could really be anything there, but I think I heard from my sister years ago that like ghosts don't necessarily have to live in a place, they can just pass through. So like I don't know how it works, I don't think any of us truly do, but that's something that she had heard from her grandmother, who was like an actual psychic, and like I don't know if you guys believe in that or not, but like that's, I don't know, everything I get from my sister Jessica on that stuff, like I totally believe her about it, because like she's like deadly serious about all of it. But so like I said, I don't think there's anything that could be living there, but there have been a lot of weird isolated incidents at that house, like nothing where it seemed like bad other than one time with me specifically, but I'll probably tell that one at the end. So I guess I'll start with the first one. Was at that house. Like I said, raised ranch. Not important till later, but I'm gonna bring it up anyway, so you just remember. So I had actually just left percussion practice, and I had my backpack with me because I hadn't stopped home. I was going to have dinner with my grandparents, and then I was gonna go like back to my mom's boyfriend's house where we were living at the time. And so I came in and I dropped my bag down, and then probably like 10 seconds later, maybe a couple seconds less, like one of my grandmother's snow globes started playing Silent Night, and it played like the main part and then stopped. And we all kind of just froze because what the fuck do you do when that happens? But we just froze, and I picked up my backpack and I put it back down, and nothing happened. And my aunt's boyfriend was like, "Don't you try to justify that. That was a ghost." The second ones aren't stories of mine, so they might be off minor details, but like these are ones that I've heard a couple times, and so like forgive me if my details aren't exactly correct. So my aunt is in the bedroom right below the living room, and so like Raised Ranch, if you've never been in one, is like you come in and there's one stairway up and there's one stairway down. The stairway down is normally a big room or two rooms connected by a small hallway that's like 5 to 6 feet long. And then if you go upstairs, there's normally like to the left there's bedrooms and bathroom, and then to the right there's living room and kitchen. So my aunt's bedroom was right below the living room, and it's like on the right side next to the hallway. So one night she said that she woke up in the middle of the night and she heard whispering outside her door, and she was so freaked out because she thought someone broke into the house and they were planning on like hurting them or something because they're whispering outside the door. But it was a man and a woman, and she couldn't make out what they were saying, but she was too scared to move from her bed. And I don't remember if she definitely didn't call like the police or anything, but there was something that made her think, don't freak out because it's not like evil or whatever, I don't know. But like she didn't do anything about it, but I think she didn't go to sleep for the rest of the night, and she didn't tell her grandparents. Not like they would believe her anyways, but like she was just worried about it, especially it being just my grandparents and her in the house. Like we always locked every door in the house, so honestly have no idea who it would be. My next story is my sister's. I don't remember it exactly, but I know that like I'm gonna be off a little bit, so just forgive me. She was in that bedroom downstairs, my aunt's bedroom, with me when we first moved in. So this was before my aunt moved in, so it was just my grandparents, my mom, and me and her. But I think I was at my dad's house that weekend, and my mom was at nursing school, and my grandparents and my sister would just hang out. They would eat dinner and then they'd go to bed. And my sister for some reason was upstairs in my mom's room, and I think it was because our room was normally really hot, so she would go to my mom's room because there's an air conditioner. So that night she was sleeping in my mom's bed, and she woke up to the sound of like a NASCAR race on the TV right below us, which isn't totally abnormal because my grandfather is hard of hearing, so the TV like would be up to like 97 on the volume meter because he can't hear anything. And so she like tried to cover her ears and try to go to bed, and she just like couldn't. And I think she ended up going to bed, and then like eventually actually falling asleep. And then like in the morning she woke up, and my grandfather was in his room, and I don't know if she mentioned something to my mother and was like, oh, he was watching NASCAR all night, and she was like, he hates NASCAR, why would he watch that? So I think they asked him, and he said that he had gone to bed early, so he was upstairs in the room right next door while she was hearing NASCAR noises from the basement right below her, which I don't know if I mentioned that before, but she was in the bedroom all the way to the left with the basement right below her, so the TV was like this far from her basically because the floors are pretty thin, so I don't know where that came from, but that was weird. So the last one is actually my story, and It was honestly terrifying. So a little bit of backstory is my grandmother had broken her hip, I think 2 years ago, and in the summer, so she was gone during the day, and they didn't really like my grandfather being alone because he has dementia, and they were afraid he was going to get into stuff too, because he's one of those people that has to be doing something all the time. So like you'd go out and he's like cutting the grass with scissors or just doing like unsafe things, trying to paint the porch like when he doesn't need to, just because like he's always doing stuff like that. So they're like, we want someone to be home for when he's home, like, and I was like 15, so like, you watch him. So I had nothing to do. So I went over there and they're like, he should be back by like 1:30 or something because he went to the senior center. So like, we just need someone to watch him after that. So I was like, oh yeah, of course. So I hung out in my sister's room for a little bit, and I was just hanging out in there, and then the internet went out when I was on the phone with my friend, and I was like, oh shit, what the hell? So my calls kept failing when I kept trying to call her back, and I went out onto the back porch to try to get service, and I heard someone call my name from the inside the house, and I was like, it didn't sound like my grandfather. I'm getting chills just telling this, I'm sorry. It didn't sound like my grandfather, but he also had a driver, so it's possible that they wanted to check to make sure there was someone there to be there when he got there. So I went back into the house, and I went down the stairs, and I went to go open the door, but it was locked. So no one was in the house, but I heard someone call my name. I got so scared that I got onto the couch and I sat in the corner, and I was so terrified. I kept trying to call my friends. The internet was gone, the service was gone. I normally have 3 bars there, and the internet never goes out because like we never really use it. My grandparents don't know technology, so it's normally just me and my aunt. So that was fucking terrifying. And I was sitting in the corner. I was like getting ready to have like a full-fledged panic attack, and then I hear the door whip open, and I jumped like 3 feet in the air, and I was sitting there for a good half hour probably, just staring at the hallway because I was too scared to move because I was afraid something was gonna run down the hallway at me. So I was sitting there for like a half hour. I heard the door whip open. I jumped like 3 feet in the air, and then I got up with my hands and fists, and I realized that it was my aunt downstairs bringing me lunch, and I got really freaked out, and I told her, like, I was like, I'm so sorry I jumped, I got scared, and I told her about everything, I think, and she was like, oh yeah, it's creepy here when you're alone. And I don't think she fully believed me, but I hadn't probably solidified what I had seen, so I was probably just talking nonsense, but that was enough to make me be like, I do not want to be here alone ever again. But while I was telling that story, I thought of another one that happened while I was alone and I was waiting for my grandparents to come home. This was actually, I think, either late my junior year or early my senior year. But my aunt often, like, she goes shopping like every Thursday with my grandparents, and I was at the house. I got home at 2:15 like I normally do, and then I walked up to the house and the door was locked, and I was like, what the hell? Like, they normally tell me, and so I didn't have my keys on me, so I had to. Are we good? Sorry, my phone kept bugging. So I normally have my keys on me, but I didn't this time, so I was like, shit. And I walked around the house, and luckily the back door was left open, so I'm like, alright, maybe my aunt just left it open for me, whatever. She did, that's a fact. I don't know why I said it like that. So she left the door open for me, and I was in my sister's room, and then I went to the bathroom, and I heard my grandmother go, Shayna, and so I opened the door, and no one was out there. And I walked to the living room because I'm like, well, maybe I heard her through the window of the living room because there's like a big window in the front, and I looked out and there was no car in the driveway. I think I ran back to the bathroom and locked myself in there until they came home like 20 minutes later, and I was still like shaking when they got home. When I actually heard them come in, I heard my aunt yell my name, so I like peeked out and I saw they were actually there, and I like she was like, oh, can you help me with the groceries? And I was like, yeah, sure. So then I went down, and immediately as we got outside, I was like, I swear to God, the ghosts are, like, they did it again. Like, they are screwing with me. And she was like, oh, what did they do this time? Because she's been there. And I was like, I swear to God, I heard Grandma, like, 10 minutes ago walk into the house and call my name. And she was like, that's happened to me before, too. So I don't know what it is that they really want, but that's like all the stuff at my grandparents' house. I have more stories that are from my first house, which I forgot to tell, but like we're already probably like 12 minutes in right now because my last video was like 11 minutes, but anyways, that's all. I have to go take a shower and then edit this video, but Vivian talking about her ghosts really reminded me of that. So, yeah, if you guys want to hear me tell more stories about the ghosts in my life, let me know in the group chat or something, because I love telling my ghosty stories. But, yeah, so anyways, happy Halloween for me and my ground pumpkin. So, stay safe tonight, you guys. Bye!